Peace, y'all. This is Lord Divine coming to you. I go by Divine Intuition here on YouTube. I wanted to come on today. I've been meaning to come on for a while now. To be honest, life gets in the way of me wanting to do more creative aspects, and I think it's time for me to start balancing them. So I decided to come on here because I've been tapping into a lot of things lately. And I kind of just wanted to share some things, see if it resonates with anyone. But the title today is 13 Keys of Self. Who are you? And so, in reflection mode, sitting with self, taking time to just kind of feel the energies. It's not always easy to sit with self because we are constantly distracted and there's so many distractions going on. However, the time that I do get to sit with myself, it makes me look inward. It makes me self-reflect. And some of the self-reflecting that I do is I start asking questions. And I think that's like the first thing, right? This is going to go into the who are you aspect. I don't know how many people actually sit there and talk to themselves or ask themselves questions. But I do feel like, first off, don't allow people to push this narrative that you're crazy if you start asking yourself questions, because how are you going to get the answer if you don't ask the questions? And with that being said, I ask myself questions like, not like, who am I, right? But that was one of the questions that I started asking. And I started asking that question, like, besides the who am I, but I'll ask questions and man, it's so wild. Like, we have a lot to talk about. I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to try and stay on subject though, because the more that I talk, I feel like the more wants to kind of like come up. And that's just because I haven't been on YouTube in a while. But I'll ask questions like, what does this mean? Or, like, who is this person? Biggest questions that I usually ask when I want to know who this person is. And then not just talking about, oh, like, who is this person, like their name, and no, it's beyond that. I ask, who is this person, like energetically, like how does this person, what is their energy? And usually I find that these are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. You ever find that you're like weirdly attracted to somebody, or like you feel like you attract a certain demographic more than others? That's not a coincidence. Especially like if we may get a little personal or intimate, I would say, right? You ever ask yourself the question, like, why are you attracted to your exes, or like the current person that you might be with, or whatever the case may be, right? It's an energy signature within them. 9 times out of 10, I guarantee it. It's like an energy signature. I made this video a few years back. It's 2024 now, so I think I made it in 2021. But it was about the bonds we share, right? And this was more so on a microcosm. And the microcosm is what we would consider like atoms or electrons, right? And I was explaining in that video how, like, if we're all considered atoms, we all have, like, con- um, I'm sorry, we all have electrons. You ever notice that when people speak in terms of like attraction, they speak of a spark, right? What do you think a spark is? A spark is in electricity, right? But it's like atoms, like electrons. That's what I like to think about electrons in that specific way. There's always a reference to something. We just need to put the pieces to those references, right? And so, you know, what was I getting at? What was I getting at, right? So these bonds, that's what I was getting at. Um, these bonds, if you have not yet asked yourself, why am I like attracted to this person, or why is this, why do we have this connection, or whatever the case may be, this is what I've realized. 9 times out of 10, there is a specific spirit or energy that resonates with you. Like, ugh. The reason why they say opposites attract is based off of polarities, right? So, polarities. Now, we won't be speaking about, oh, like they're uh they're this and I'm this. Like, no. This is also going back to the bonds, right? Like, let's just think about, I think the easiest way to think about it is in polarities, but also in the sense of like masculine, feminine, which would be polarities. But then we can get a little more, what's the word? A little more down to it, like a little more to the root when we think of like just atoms, right? Because they're kind of like neutral in their own space. So if we think of atoms, one might be positively charged, while one holds more electrons, so they might be negatively charged. Okay. Now, the reason why one is more positively charged, if you've gone to, like, I was going to say if you've gone to school, but like if you paid attention in school, okay, my bad. If you paid attention in school, which science and, science was like one of my favorite classes. So, of course, I'm like nerding out right now. Apologies. But the only reason why the atom is considered a proton is because it has a less electrons, and it has obviously more protons, right? But protons and neutrons go in that same thing. So the same amount of protons and the same amount of neutrons you're going to have, it just has less, I would say less electrons, which makes it more positively charged. Stay with me. So I feel like the spark, and this is what I was trying to say in my last video, which was like a few years ago, but this is a perfect time to kind of speak on like who we are based off of these connections, right? So in life, every connection is a reflection of yourself. This is the biggest teacher. Every connection that you make is a reflection of yourself. This also means, like, if you want to speak on enemies is just, it's a reflection of you, but in your negative. This is why it would be considered like a negative aspect of you. But everything is a reflection of you. And so if we can go ahead and we can just strip away all of the nonsense and all of the BS that comes with, oh no, this person's not me. Yeah, no, you guys, we have it wrong, right? So anytime you interact with someone, it's based off of a reflection of you. But what is that reflection? That's what you need to be asking, right? So what is that reflection? What does it look like? And mainly like what is the spirit that is attracted to you? So I've come to realize that lately the main thing that I focus on is obviously my energies, my energy signatures. But I've also been realizing that the connections that I've been making with people, it's a direct reflection of something within myself. And I've been having to ask this question like, wow, like, okay, who is this person? And the minute that I ask this question, I get the answer. You know, I start like, it's almost like, and I'm not even gonna lie, it's crazy. But it's a very subtle awareness. My eyes bothering me. It's a very subtle awareness, but the energies come up. And so you ask yourself questions. Sorry about that. All right, so you ask yourself these questions, and what ends up happening is you get the answer, but you have to learn how to see the answer, feel the answer, pay attention to the cues that come up because they're going to be very subtle. But if you are someone who understands these subtle cues, right, the universe will give you your answer. So I have been able to tap into like some of my closest people around me, and I've been able to tap in, and sometimes it's not as easy, you know. Sometimes it takes a connection, but that's the thing. It takes a connection, right? Like in my last so in the video that I am referring to, I'm trying to figure out how I'm able to go ahead and like pin it, how other people do or whatever the case may be. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Um, but maybe I'll just leave the link in the description box so that it's a reference. I'll most likely do that. So you have to generate a bond in order for this to actually work, right? I noticed that some people could go and be in relationships like I was, and I was in a relationship for a few years and never not really know that person because they never brought their guard down. So there never was like a genuine bond, which is sad, but that also means that that person was not emotionally available. So, with that being said, I also feel like energy in motion, you get it? Emotion, energy in motion plays a part. This is where that giving and receiving of electrons, right? Now, you ever feel that when you're with someone, or maybe you've had this experience that you've been with someone previously and they're not really there, but more so like that they're not there, but they take things like energy, or they're emotionally not there, but they're quick to want to take, or like um it's what I call like taking electrons, right? Like they'll take, but they won't give anything in return. I think that might be ionic bonds, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, like I said, I'll put the link below so that anyone who is interested can go back. So try, and the thing is that they don't give an electron back, right? They don't give any energy back, or like they don't give that back. They're quick to take, but they're not giving it back. So essentially, in order to kind of read somebody or like figure out what their energy signatures are, you can't do that if they're not giving you something in return. That's what I realized. I follow someone in the conscious or subconscious community, and he is pretty well known. His name is Q Reeves, and he says something that I just realized, right? He says, and this is what I'm speaking on right now, but in my own way. So, of course, I think a lot of us speak things similarly, but we all have our different perceptions, which makes us who we are. And what he says is, I'm only as good as the energy I receive. Interesting, because it's energy is always a give and receive. And he shares that very clearly on his platform. Um, but yes, this is the same kind of concept that I'm speaking on, right? And so let's circle back, right? Because I'm kind of getting on a tangent about these bonds. Um, but connections. So we make connections all the time. And these connections might or might not lead us to knowing more about ourselves. Um, but I also feel like the minute that you're able to understand who you are and know who you are inside, that's when you're able to start to understand and see the energy in others. And it's very interesting. Like I put puzzle pieces together. You know what I'm saying? Like I do that often. And I'll briefly speak on my ex real quick. So I have an ex, and he was giving me a lot of, I don't know, pirate energy. Now I know this sounds funny to some people, but it's actual fact. And he just did a lot of things like subconsciously he kind of like would walk with a limp, but that's because he works in an environment which he stands on his feet a lot, and the shoes that he was wearing, whatever, all of that kind of contributed to him having like a slight limp when he would be on his feet a lot. And so it just reminded me of like how pirates kind of like limp, or it's just the energies, right? Like they're so subtle, but it's almost like you have to know who you really are so that you're able to read people and understand like the energies around you and why they kind of like gravitate to you, or why you gravitate to them, or whatever the case may be. And so that was just one. It was the limping that reminded me of, like you walk like a freaking, like you got a peg leg. That's what I had told him one time. And I caught myself and I was like, did I just really say that? Another thing was he had coins. So anytime that he would break bills, right? Because he mainly, and that is the biggest thing. The biggest thing about him is that he likes to deal with cash. Now, this makes me laugh because he is kind of like, or I would say his spirit, right, is kind of like refusing to change with the times, right? Because that spirit only has ever dealt with cash, coin, right? Which leads me into a different topic that uh, um, about coins. It's electrum, but electrum was like the first coins that were made, out of silver and gold. And silver and gold together is called electrum, which is just another mind blowing thing that I researched, but that I was tapping into. And it kind of led me from silver when I was tapping into like AG. I woke up one day and I started saying, like, um, to my sister, shout out to Unlock Gems, by the way. But I was saying something to my sister and I was telling her, like, yeah, I'm feeling like aggressive and something like that. But, anyways, so I started feeling the energy of AG coming up. And then I was like, well, let me see what AG is, right? And then AG is literally silver in the table of elements, the periodic table of elements. So, anyways, let me not lose my track because I have lots to say. So, initially, what I was going back to was the ex, real quick. Um, so, he deals with coin and deals with money and paper. And the most interesting thing is he has, like, I don't know, like, he just throws his coins everywhere, you know? But he's always got coins, and he used to save up all of his change. So anytime he broke dollar bills, he would keep the coins. Coins were his like biggest thing. Um, and I just started feeling this energy coming even more, right? And so one thing about him was that he wasn't really emotionally available for me, which is indeed why we're considered, exes. Um, but I noticed that I started asking questions and I slowly started getting that energy. And basically, you know, he went as far as like, I remember one time he was like, he had said something about in Chicago, we have a Puerto Rican parade that happens every year in June, second week of June or something like that. Um, and a lot of people tend to bring out their cars and they tend to like want to like show off their cars, whatever. And so he has a specific car that he wanted to kind of like bring out, but he told me that he thought it would be cool if he brought out his car and had like a flag, that instead of the Puerto Rican flag, it was a flag with a skull and crossbones. I was like, dude, do you know that that's some pirate shit? And he was like, yeah, you're right. And it's, like I said, it's subtle cues, right? But that's just going to show, like, if you know who you are, you can then be able to identify other people. And one of the things is, I think I'm pretty gifted in is reading people's energies, but based off of their their cues, like what their spirit wants to tell me, right? I'm not invasive. I wait for that openness to come through. Like if they want to be open and they want to share, that's how I read. Um, I know that there are some people out there that read energies, but they're very invasive and they won't ask for permission. I wait for permission, meaning like I wait for you to voluntarily like share this information, and then I pick up um, the energies. So I ended up actually meeting the pirate. Well, I won't say meeting. He actually came through my ex one day, and it was actually like I was like, "Whoa!" He literally came through, and my ex was a little um like he was aware, and he was like, "Yo, this is crazy." It only takes one time, you guys. It only takes one time for you to experience that there is spirits, right? Like we are a container of spirits. It only takes one time for you to see one of your spirits, and then it's like you want to know more. But that's the concept of knowing who you are. The body is a tool for the spirit. This is why I say that the energies are so subtle, because I'm sure that if you were to look around you, you would wonder, or if you were to ask, like, oh, why do I love candles? Or, like, candles is pretty general, but, like, why do I have four cubes in the background? You know what I'm saying? Um, what is that association to? Which brings me back to 13, because 1 plus 3 is 4, but we'll get there. There's a lot of things, and our spirits are always speaking to each other through these vessels. So I'm only 27 minutes in, but I haven't even gotten to like the other aspect of 13 keys of self, because this is personally what I um, realized based off of a question that I asked again. And, I looked up because I have a very strong association to 13. However, how that came about was my association with 4. And 444, right? But then that association, when I started like diving into that one, I started realizing like, there's a higher aspect to that, which would be 13. And let me kind of go back a little bit. So with the ex who got to understand that he literally has a pirate within him, the pirate was saying some like so quick thing. He got to hear the pirate come through, like speak through him. And he first off, I was the one who pointed it out because I picked it up real quick. And the ex was actually speaking about what he wanted to bring in for the new year. And he was speaking in this stuff, and I questioned something, and he had said something about unity, or like union energy, right? but self union. And that's all it took. That's all it took to have the spirit, his spirit, his, just one of them, because we have multiple. But this pirate spirit, it's all the pirate spirit really wanted to hear. It was like a promise that he was going to integrate his spirits with him, you know. So the thing about it is that the body is sentient, right? But the body is a tool, but the body is sentient. So if the body is a tool, the body has to actually go through upgrades. Like, this is the way that um, it's like upgrading software, right? So you have a computer and you upgrade the software. Just like our phones, it's no less different than our phones. So we have a phone, but we have whatever phone, right? We have to keep upgrading the software because the software becomes kind of like slow and outdated and it doesn't process as fast. Same concept, you guys. Same freaking concept as for bodies. Like, yeah, we have one body. However, if we do not input the things necessary for it to keep running up to date, you are going to be outdated. You are going to be slow as hell. You're not going to be able to process these things. So the faster you kind of like upgrade yourself, which is why they always talk about deprogramming from the programs that we've kind of like got institutionalized with, right? Or the first programs that, and this is, I know that quite a few people are becoming more aware of this, right? But everything that we were taught is ass backwards, and it's a big ass lie. Everything. Like, and this might not okay, so let me just give a forewarning, right? Let me just give a whatever, a warning that this is my beliefs. These are the beliefs that I believe in, okay? And this is not to bring down or, you know, criticize anybody. Like, you have to kind of do your research, and a lot of this stuff is coming to light. And so the fact that I am speaking on certain things is because I have done this research. I'm trying to find the word. I have been dedicated to learning and growing and expanding and evolving. And I don't know everything. However, I am willing to share what I know so that it can expand, so that it can like catch fire to the masses, right? But so that it can ripple. That's the word that I was looking for, ripple. You want energy to ripple out, just like water ripples, right? So that's the association here. But you know, all of the programs that we have been taught have been have been taught to us in a specific way so that it's like capping us, you know? Like, we learned nothing in school, you guys. We learned nothing in school. We learned everything but nothing at all, you know? We learned everything but what we really needed to get us to understand what the real world is about. I'm more than aware that this is the reason why we are institutionalized in school, right? And why they have a certain curriculum that only is accepted based off of what they want to teach us. Um, I think there was only one school that actually helped me, and it was my second year. I think it was my second year of high school. And my second year of high school,